Welcome back, viewers. You are still tuned into Prime Live, and it is a Tuesday, so we are choosing health and wellness. And today is an incredibly special day. We are actually commemorating World Cancer Day, and we are joined by our resident wellness expert to talk to us more about World Cancer Day. What are some of the risk factors? What are some of the treatments involved? And how you can best support a family member, or how you can best support family and friends who are affected by cancer as well. Today, it's all about honoring cancer survivors, cancer warriors, and the incredible families that stand behind them as well. Assalamu alaikum, Ronald. Thank you for joining us on Prime Live.
Walaikum salam.
I think for me, World Cancer Day, I know we've had this conversation before, and we've spoken a lot about the different kinds of cancers that exist, and we've spoken a lot about that. But I think this year hits home a little differently for me, having my grandmother just being diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. And, today's all about honoring the warriors that are surviving and fighting on a day-to-day basis when it comes to living with cancer, and all the families that are affected by it as well. Not forgetting all the little kids all around the world that are affected by cancer as well. But to kickstart off our conversation today for World Cancer Day, talk to us about, what are some of the risk factors that we should be trying to eliminate from our lifestyles that put us at a higher risk of developing any types of cancers?
Now, we know that cancer is a mutation of the cells. They grow uncontrollably. So basically, they bypass the control mechanisms of cell growth and they just spread. And that causes impact and issues on the organs and the other healthy cells. And that's what leads to cancer. Now, we know that cancer's got a genetic factor to it, but people also neglect the lifestyle and the environmental factors. So genetics, you can test and identify, but it's not a guaranteed reason or risk factor that you will get cancer. We know that you are more predisposed to it within your genetic makeup. So from breast cancer, cervical cancer, my grandmother passed away because of cancer as well. And that is genetically in my family. So what do I need to do is become aware, do self-screenings, etc. Risk factors. The lifestyle risk factors are a lot more common for us to be aware of. Things like unhealthy eating, lack of sleep, stress, and obesity, because all of that impacts the metabolism and the cells themselves. So when you impact the cells and not create an environment that is ideal for the body physiologically to thrive and flourish, you're putting the body under undue stress and strain, which could exacerbate or initiate the genetic factors that lead to these cells growing uncontrollably. Environmental factors, that's real. We know pollution. We know that things like cell phones and radiation and those kinds of things are also real. And we need to become a lot more aware of that. What are we eating? How are we eating it? The foods that where does it come from? The water quality. So all of these factors lead to risk identifiers that we need to mitigate. But the thing is, we can't test in the beginning of life that, okay, you are going to get cancer. We can say you're at a higher risk because of these things. So it's always about the body awareness and the well-being awareness that you need to always have top of mind.
Thank you for sharing that. I think I've learned from, my family's journey and my grandmother's journey with cancer. It's all about being mindful of your day-to-day choices. And someone who is strong and fit and healthy is also at risk of cancers. And I think some of the things you've highlighted, we all need to be more mindful for. What are we putting into our bodies? How are we taking care of ourselves, and how can we better care for ourselves? But I want to talk about something that is not often spoken about, or rather not spoken about enough. And that is, of course, the mental effects of having cancer on the patient, on the family, as well as the emotional and psychological effects that it can have on the mind as well. Now, we know that cancer is a physical illness, but it takes a lot away from you when it comes to, the mental challenges that you will face, all the things you can't do anymore, the lifestyle changes you have to do. Can you talk us through, navigating some of those difficult aspects when it comes to your mental health, and how to better care for someone? Maybe it's your friend, maybe it's your family, or maybe it's yourself who's gotten this diagnosis. How can we better tackle the mental challenges that come along with a cancer diagnosis?
We know that a cancer diagnosis, if some people say, or they get the diagnosis, they automatically assume it's a death sentence. But here's the thing. We know that, depending on the type of cancer, the age or the stage of the cancer, and with the technology that is now available to us from a treatment perspective, that it's not necessarily a death sentence, depending, but it's all case dependent. But it does give you a differentiated approach, and it impacts your approach towards your mental well-being and of course your emotional well-being. Now, mental well-being is one where if something happens to you or you're concerned about something, let's say you get pulled over and you're overspeeding, not you though, I think because you don't drive, so it's fine. But for those that are speeding and suddenly they have to go to court, that will always be at the back of the mind. So what it does is it takes up cognitive calories. So you begin to fixate on it. That leads to stress, and stress because of something that is on your mind that you're dealing with, that you're not sure what it is, how you're going to face it, or that you're worried about how others are going to view you and perceive it. That is something that plays on your mind as stress. Stress over a period of time becomes chronic stress, and then it becomes distress. What it happens to the body, cortisol increases, and it exasperates the cancer, because you are putting it into an environment that is not ideal from a physiological perspective. Second thing is the risk of depression is high. Risk of just really feeling fatigued is also high, mentally and emotionally. People become tired of them. Are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And it is something where it's not. So don't ask me, but I'm okay, or rather I'm surviving for now. I am joyful for now. So it's about rephrasing those questions. So it's also then putting up a barrier emotionally and mentally. So it does boil down to the word you use is so key, which is mindfulness. Because mindfulness allows us to be present in the here and the now without judgment, which means we can then subdue the stress because we are present within ourselves. I can't change it. I'm doing everything I can to face it. I've engaged to create my boundaries and standards with my family and friends to say, don't ask me if I'm okay. I'll come to you if I am, or leave me alone in this period. So that just gives you mindfulness practices in its ultimate form of self, within self, and of course in that immediate environment that you are in with your community or social circles. And that does then help you decrease the risk of the mental health vulnerabilities.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important for all of us out there to be mindful of our own emotions and our own actions and reactions towards the person that's being diagnosed. They're going through a lot. They're dealing with a huge diagnosis, as well as their own, mental health issues that they may be facing. And I think more than that, like you said, a lot of the time, if someone keep on asking you, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" It can sometimes get to you. It can bother you all the time, especially during the chemo process. You're constantly unwell, so every time someone asks you if you are okay, it can be very triggering as well. But I also want to talk about when it comes to cancer and regarding some of the myths that do exist. And we see a lot of content as well on social media. What I love about this segment is we have the opportunity to debunk a lot of those myths. There's a lot of things on social media about how you should try this and this and that and that, and that's going to cure cancer, and this is going to cure cancer. From your experience, what are some of the biggest myths you've seen in your experience being in the health space, and maybe debunk them a little bit for us?
All right. Number one is the fact that if you eat this food, you will cure cancer. The risk, and the superfood concept, your berries, your fruits and veggies, the superfoods with the high vitamin mineral qualities. The thing is, it primes your body to address what your body needs to address. So it's not going to cure cancer, but it gives your body a fighting chance of addressing it because you're looking after the body. It's a lot better than eating, chips and acha. Rather have, some berries, blueberries, etc., because it primes your body with what it's dealing with. Second thing that is so common is that people say, and this is where it's very interesting. People say to me all the time that if I exercise and if I live healthy now, I'm going to cure cancer. Living healthy right now should be a non-negotiable, right? But the other thing is that you cannot assume that it will let you cure cancer. It primes your body again. So the lifestyle factors that you address. Oh, I've stopped smoking, so I'm going to cure cancer now that you've been diagnosed. No, you still have the cancer. You still have to treat it. But stopping smoking has got other health benefits that prepares your body to address and deal with it. And those are the things that we need to then become aware of. Those are the common two myths, but the number one is always about the superfoods. Eat this, then you'll cure cancer. The reality is this. And ensure with your grandmother you've identified it, is that the treatment protocol is important. The family support component is important, but the family is dealing with their own issues. And how does the family then, as individuals, find counseling and support for them, but also understand with the medical practitioners of your grandmom, what is your grandmom actually going through physiologically? Because we cannot understand the pain, the agony of chemo, losing your hair. We have no point of reference. We can be empathetic, but I often speak to about practical compassion. And then, of course, what if your grandmother feels like having a Russian roll today? Are you going to be like, no, 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 you mustn't, you must have superfoods? You are not helping her from a perspective of mindfulness and her understanding her body. Now, you're not going to give her 5 every day, but once in a blue moon, hey, guess what? She's craving for it. That's okay. So it's always about, people say it's okay not to be okay. Hey, it's okay if you are not, even if you're not dealing with a cancer. And you don't have to be strong for that person, because trust me, you mentioned the word in the opening, cancer warriors are also cancer survivors, and those fighting cancer every day are warriors. So why do you want to be a weakling around a warrior? How do you support a warrior? How do you have their back when they're down and lift them up when they're higher? That is the ask, not is, are you okay?
That was very powerfully said. Thank you for sharing that, Ronald. I think so much of what you have said resonates so much with me. And, watching someone survive and fight and, like you said, be this warrior when it comes to battling cancer is nothing short of inspiring. To see someone wake up still smiling and to see my grandmother still urging on, still joking, still being herself is incredibly inspiring. And it inspires us as well. And I love that you talked about that sense of, more than empathy, you need to be a lot more mindful of how you are carrying yourself around this person. But I think it's what you've mentioned is so important. But more importantly, before we let you go, I would love if you have the opportunity to please share just one message that you want our viewers at home to take away from World Cancer Day.
World Cancer Day is, I've been impacted by it in my family, my grandmother as well, and my uncle passed away because he smoked for his whole life, to the point there was a hole in his neck, and it was too late. And within it, it's a predisposition to it. But in also being part of the Breast Health Foundation and supporting breast cancer survivors and seeing how they thrive, and the fact that they're not just mindful in every moment, but the fact that they're taking every moment and they're squeezing every bit of juice out of that moment is so inspiring. So I'd like to let those that are living and surviving and fighting cancer right now, I'd like to say to them quite simply, you are the inspiration for us to live life fully. You are nourishing that need, and you are letting us realize that there are bigger things in this world that we have to deal with. So stop being a warrior and worried about things, and start being a warrior fighting for things.
That is so, so powerful, Ronald. That was incredible. And I think what you've shared is so powerful for all of us. Not just, families that are particularly affected by cancer or individuals that are affected by cancer. I think we've all got to walk around with that mindset that we've got to live every day with full intention and full presence, and make sure we value each moment and value the health that we are given, and value it by giving it everything it needs, nourishing our bodies, taking care of ourselves, being mindful of ourselves. And if anything, you watch someone undergo something as drastic as a cancer diagnosis, and like you said, it makes you think about how little your problems are. And it makes you value every single moment that you have with them. But Ronald, thank you so much for joining us, for sharing your thoughts on World Cancer Day, as well as your expertise and experience. I think today, more than anything, we've learned a lot about, what we can do better for ourselves, to take care of ourselves, to be more mindful and take charge and take control of our health. But more importantly, how we can better support, how we can better be warriors alongside those people in our lives. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your own personal experiences with cancer. And we do send our condolences to you and your family. I know it's never easy, dealing with grief. You miss them every day, and every single big moment in your life you miss them. But thank you for honoring them today by sharing your experience and being vulnerable.
Afwan.
Viewers at home, that was Ronald Abvajee. Today is World Cancer Day, and today we honor and commemorate the resilient individuals that are battling and surviving cancer every single day. And to all the families out there who have a loved one who is a warrior and is fighting cancer on a day-to-day basis, we send all our blessings, all our love, and all our duas to all of you out there. Do share with us on our social media platforms. Do share with us any of your stories, your comments, any questions you might have. But remember, today is all about them and about honoring their battle and supporting the warriors in our lives. But on that note, it is time for us to head over to an ad break, and we'll come right back.